I didn't tell him that we want to kill someone because the plan was not to kill someone.
What was the plan?
I said, guy, me and this my guy want to carry out one deal in the evening. That was what I said. I said, you go show. He said, if the deal involve money, I said, involve money, you go show. He said, okay, go show.
On the evening of March 3, 2017, Mr. Tajudeen completed his ICT work and headed to King's Bar as usual. When he arrived at his establishment, he saw some familiar faces, including his barman, Victor, and a few customers. Among them were two young men named Kelechi and Ahmed. Kelechi was actually living with Victor in the accommodation provided by Tajudeen on the bar premises. Ahmed was a customer who frequently visited the bar to drink. What Tajudeen did not know was that the familiar faces he saw that evening had been waiting for him with a very deadly plan. Among the people present were two young men who were about to turn his regular evening visit into a total nightmare. Mr. Tajudeen was a hard-working man who balanced two jobs to make ends meet. During the day, he worked in the ICT sector, and in the evenings, he managed his bar called King's Bar, which was located in an area of Ikeja, Lagos State, Nigeria. The bar had become a popular spot in the neighborhood, and Tajudeen took pride in what he had built. To help run the bar, Tajudeen had employed a young man named Precious Victor as his barman. Victor was just 20 years old and held an ordinary national diploma from Moshood Abiola University in Ogun State. Tajudeen had been generous enough to not only give Victor a job, but also provide him with accommodation right on the bar premises. It seemed like a good arrangement that would benefit both men, but behind the scenes, Victor was growing restless. By early March 2017, he had decided that he wanted out of the job. However, he did not plan to leave empty-handed. Victor felt he was owed money, and he was determined to get it by any means necessary. He convinced himself that he needed exactly 63,000 naira from his boss, and he had no intention of asking for it politely. Victor knew he could not carry out his plan alone, so he enlisted the help of his friend Kelechi, who was living with him in the accommodation Tajudeen had provided. Victor also brought Ahmed into the plan. Earlier that day, when Ahmed came to the bar to drink, Victor approached him and asked if he could drive a car. Ahmed agreed, though he would later claim that he did not know the full details of what Victor was planning. The plan was that Victor and Kelechi would threaten Tajudeen with a knife and force him to hand over 63,000 naira to them. They had no intention of killing him, or so Victor would later claim. But as the evening unfolded, everything would spiral out of control in the most horrific way imaginable. As Tajudeen walked through his bar that evening, he had no idea that the three young men present had already set a trap for him. Victor had positioned himself strategically, waiting for the right moment to strike. When Tajudeen walked into his office on the bar premises, the plan was set in motion. Victor stayed back, hiding in the kitchen, while Kelechi carried out the first part of their scheme. Kelechi confronted Tajudeen in his office, demanding that he hand over his money and his car keys to him. But Tajudeen was not the kind of man to be easily intimidated. He refused to give in to the demands, and what happened next would turn a robbery attempt into a full-blown murder. In a fit of anger and frustration, Kelechi grabbed a bottle and smashed it on Tajudeen's head. Victor, who was hiding in the kitchen, heard the loud crash of the bottle breaking. He rushed out of the kitchen to see what was happening, and when he entered the office, he was met with a sight that would change his life forever. Tajudeen, despite the bleeding wound on his head, immediately recognized Victor. He looked at his employee, the young man he had given a job and a home, and asked if Victor wanted to kill him. Victor tried to deny it, but Tajudeen was already moving toward him. Despite his injury, Tajudeen reportedly grabbed Victor and in a desperate act of self-defense, beat him hard on the stomach. Tajudeen refused to let go, clenching his jaw tighter and tighter. Victor screamed in pain and panic. He called out to Kelechi, begging him to help free him from Tajudeen's grip. Kelechi tried to pull Victor away, dragging at both men, but Tajudeen would not release his bite. Kelechi grew more desperate. He needed to free Victor, and Tajudeen was not letting go. In that moment of chaos and fear, Kelechi made a fatal decision. He grabbed a knife and stabbed Tajudeen twice in the stomach. Tajudeen finally let go of Victor and then collapsed on the ground. But instead of calling for help or trying to save the man who was dying on the floor, Victor and Kelechi searched his pockets and took his car keys. They then locked Tajudeen inside the office and left the premises. Unfortunately for them, their crime had not gone completely unnoticed. Someone had seen them, and their freedom would not last very long. Victor quickly called Ahmed and told him to drive Tajudeen's car out of the compound. Ahmed took the car keys and tried to start the vehicle. Victor and Kelechi joined him, and together they drove away from the scene of the crime, leaving their victim locked in the office. The three young men drove to a hotel where they planned to hide while they figured out what to do next. Victor later revealed that they were waiting at the hotel to sell the car to a buyer, but their plan was already falling apart. Back at the bar, the eyewitness who saw the three walking out of the bar with blood-stained clothes decided to report the discovery to the police. Tajudeen's body was discovered and a manhunt for the suspects was launched. The police were able to track down both Victor and Ahmed within days of the murder. Kelechi, however, managed to escape and went on the run. When Victor and Ahmed were brought before the Lagos State Police Command, they were paraded before journalists, and the true story of what had happened began to emerge. Victor gave a detailed confession, explaining how he had planned everything from the start. He admitted that he had been the one to invite Kelechi to threaten his boss with a knife in order to get 63,000 naira from him. He claimed the initial plan was never to kill Tajudeen, but simply to scare him into handing over the money. Victor explained that he had been hiding in the kitchen when things went wrong, and that it was Kelechi who had smashed the bottle on Tajudeen's head when the victim refused to give them money. He described how his boss had beaten him and held on, and how Kelechi had stabbed Tajudeen twice to force him to let go. Victor insisted that he had called Ahmed to drive the car away and that they had gone to a hotel to plan their next move. When asked what he needed 63,000 naira for, Victor refused to give specific details. He would only say that he wanted to use it to do different things. He expressed regret for his actions, claiming that the plan had never been to kill his boss. But Ahmed told a very different story. He insisted that he had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Ahmed claimed he was just a regular customer who had been at the bar drinking when Victor approached him and asked if he could drive a car. According to Ahmed, Victor had mentioned earlier in the day that he was planning to do something and asked if Ahmed was interested, but Ahmed said he never knew the specific details of what Victor had in mind. Ahmed explained that when Victor gave him the car keys, he tried to start the car, but it would not start immediately. He claimed that Victor had told him they needed to leave, so he kept trying until the car started and they drove away. Ahmed insisted that he only agreed to drive Victor away from the scene to help him, and that he did not know Victor had committed such a serious crime. He even claimed that when he realized what had happened, he had planned to return the car to the bar, but was arrested before he could do so. However, Victor was not about to let Ahmed escape responsibility. He fought tooth and nail to ensure that he did not go down alone. Victor fought hard to convince both the police and the press that Ahmed had known about the plan from the beginning and was in on it from the start. Victor insisted that he had told Ahmed about the plan earlier that day and that Ahmed had agreed to participate.
Yeah, I said, okay.
You kill somebody, you want to make me
I didn't tell him, guy. I didn't tell him, guy, want to kill someone because the plan was not to kill someone.
What was the plan?
I said, guy, me and this my guy want to carry out one deal in the evening. That was what I said. I said, you go show. He said, if the deal involve money, I said, involve money, you go show. He said, okay, go show. That was what the thing. That's why I said, he understand when I said it was a deal. Say you go show. So it's not the deal to go to Tantala. That's why I say he understand. That's what I'm trying to say.
You never said he had a plan.
Now, he said I never said he have a plan. Ask him this question. When the to know what I'm saying is the truth here to confirm my sincerity. When he came in the evening, when the soldier came, I told the soldier that this is the driver to my boss. He concur, cause in the evening when he came, in the morning when he came, I've already narrated. I told him that's why the soldier allowed him to drive the car. The soldier said, is this the driver? He says the one that bought the car. The soldier also now gave him the key. So it's not something maybe I'm trying to complicate the matter. I said all the facts to the police there, so I'm not trying to cover up any issue.
Your boss had been stabbed before you decided to move the car away.
Yes, he has been stabbed. Actually, it's a white car. He just bought the car that day.
The boss?
It was Kelechi.
Okay, sorry. Let me ask you. At the point where you've already killed your boss before you came to him.
Yes.
To come and drive.
To come outside.
Not
Yes.
at the scene.
He was not at the scene.
He was at the bar.
He was at the bar.
But excuse me, when you told me to drive and we left with the vehicle, did you tell me that your boss is dead? To be sincere, did you tell me anything about that?
I didn't tell him my boss is dead. To be sincere, I didn't tell him. What I didn't tell him, I won't come here and say I didn't tell him, because why? Once he knew about the plan. So when he came, he didn't know the initial plan. Maybe his own was just that money was involved. So that was it. So when he came, it was at the hotel we were supposed to tell him. But when Kelechi lied down on the bed and I was sitting down, he was just taking his beer. Then Kelechi was cracking his head to look for the next step to do. So that was it.
Okay, so he didn't know. Wait, my dear, he didn't know that you were out to kill.
He didn't know we were out to kill.
The then Commissioner of Police for Lagos State confirmed that both suspects would be charged to court as soon as the investigation was completed. He assured the public that the fleeing suspect, Kelechi, would soon be arrested and made to face the same legal consequences as his accomplices. The commissioner also confirmed that Tajudeen's vehicle, which had been driven away by the suspects, had been recovered by the police. What do you think should happen to someone who kills their employer over money? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories.